It's always so lovely to host you every Wednesday of the month. Greetings, leaders from the African continent and across the world. Welcome to today's live session. It's so lovely to have you with us. My name is Maud Nale, the communications lead at Digital Earth Africa. And today we have a very special live session. Every August here at Digital Earth Africa, we celebrate our anniversary. And this year we've decided to do so with you. Yes, we're going to be celebrating our anniversary as part of today's live session, where some of our senior leaders here at Digital Earth Africa will reflect on the journey thus far, especially in the past year, give thanks as we chart a way forward and envision a path for the next year or few years ahead. So welcome, lovely to have you with us. Let's get started. You always see these leaders at all our events that we've had across the continent and the world. And today you're going to get to put a face to each of their names. And we're going to start with our managing director. She is Dr. Thembi Xaba. Dr. Thembi Xaba, lovely to have you with us. You're the managing director here at Digital Earth Africa, but many people may not even know, what does your role really entail? In layman's terms, what is your role as managing director of Digital Earth Africa?
Good day, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity. So in a layman's term, the role of the managing director is to implement the strategy as defined by the governing board. Each and every period or year, the governing board will have a strategy and outcomes. The managing director is entrusted with that role of ensuring that the strategy of the board or the mandate of the organization is implemented. Having said that, I can elevate two which are quite crucial for us. One being embedding the program in Africa. And what does it mean? It is expected that Digital Earth Africa should be present or have its regional footprints across the continent. And in doing so, it's also affirming our work with our implementing partners who are in the various parts of the continent as well. And this embedding the program in Africa, it's a continuation from phase 2 to phase 3, where phase 3 is talking about scaling up and impact. The second one is climate change action. And I think we all know that our mandate is premised on climate action, which is SDG number 13. And all the thematic areas, they flow from that SDG. So that's my role in a nutshell, is to implement the strategy of the governing board and the mandate of the governing board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Xaba. Nice to hear about all the work that Digital Earth Africa, or our larger vision, and we're going to get to hear from you today as this roundtable discussion unfolds. Now we're going to introduce another leader. Also, you get to see him at events. Now you're going to put a face to his name. He is Zviko Mudimu, the head of operations here at Digital Earth Africa. Zviko, welcome. Nice to have you with us as part of this live session. Head of operations, what does your role entail in the context of Digital Earth Africa?
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Thanks so much for organizing this, Maud and the team, and we really appreciate the connection with everyone across the continent. As head of operations, I work to make sure that our platform is working well, our capacity development team is working and engaging with people across the continent, and that our office is also running well. So fairly wide range portfolio, but it's really an important role in terms of connecting the work that we're doing with the people across the continent.
Connecting the work we do with people across the continent. We're also going to get to hear from Zviko a little bit later. Welcome, sir. Lovely to have you with us. And now we're going to introduce our lead scientist, Dr. Lisa Maria Rebelo. Dr. Lisa, nice to also have you with us as part of this live session. What is a lead scientist, or what does your role entail in the context of Digital Earth Africa?
Thank you very much, Maud, and thank you everybody who's participating and celebrating with us online. It's an exciting event for us today. So as lead scientist, my role is focused very much around providing leadership and strategic guidance to the scientific research and the technical operations of the program. And that includes a number of aspects. I'll just mention a couple of those. So providing expertise and guidance, looking at development, use of Earth observations and geospatial data, but really ensuring that the latest technological advances are being integrated into the platform for our users, and ensuring, I guess, that industry trends are informing our scientific work program. So part of that looks at emerging issues, developing new processes, technologies, products and services, which you'll hear a bit more about later, as well as looking at opportunities for scaling and new methods. And of course, working with my wonderful science team, which is distributed across the continent as well as globally. Back to you, Maud.
Also quite a big portfolio. Lovely to hear from you. We'll also get to hear from you as this discussion unfolds. And last but certainly not least, you've probably seen him at most of the events. He's also no stranger yet to the live sessions. Our capacity development lead, Dr. Kenneth Mubea. Dr. Mubea, you've been on these sessions before, but for someone who's here for the first time or seeing the sessions for the first time, what is the role of the capacity development lead in the context of Digital Earth Africa?
Thank you so much, moderator, for the opportunity. The role entails connecting with all stakeholders from different sectors. And I can see some of them we even connected last week at different forums, and also driving the usage of the platform, from the training, from the uses, as well as sharing the wonderful news. Ours is just to convince you that Digital Africa is the best platform in Africa, so that we leave you no one behind. Thank you. Back to moderator.
Indeed, we do not want to leave anyone behind. So it's lovely to have you as part of the conversation, Dr. Mubea, as it unfolds. Let's get started, leaders, on our roundtable discussion. We've had such an amazing year. There's so many highlights to share. We're not going to be able to share everything today, but we're going to aim to get to as much of it as possible. When this year started, or very late last year, we launched our offices, our program management offices right here in South Africa, on the African continent. Dr. Xaba, you were part of that event, and maybe as our managing director, you can kick off this conversation. How important, or what was the significance of having that office being opened here on the African continent?
Yeah. So the program, as we know, it transitioned from Australia to Africa, and it was the governing board's position that the program should be African-led. As of last year, July, the program is now African-led with the team here in Africa. What was significant about opening or launching the office in Africa is the physical presence in the continent. The program for the past 2 years prior to last year during COVID was operating or managed to deliver on its outcomes in a virtual environment. Now, having transitioned and with the leadership now in Africa, it was important for the program to have a home, and a home in Africa. The South African National Space Agency is hosting the program, and it's in South Africa. The significance then is centered around the physical presence in the continent. And of course, as you may be aware, or some of you may be aware, this is not only the presence. We do have other colleagues in other regions of the continent. And I would say also continue watching the space, the physical presence, as you'd have witnessed 2 weeks ago. We are also now in Kenya. So that was so profound and fundamental that we are now in Africa. It's Africa-led, and the physical presence as well, and the capable African team as well is in Africa. Thank you.
Africa-led, physical presence in Africa with an African team. Thank you so much to you, Dr. Xaba, for highlighting the significance of that very special moment that we witnessed very late last year. Now, maybe I'm going to go to you, Lisa Rebelo, with regards to some of the services. We launched some groundbreaking stuff in the past year. Keen to share with everyone about some of those services that we launched?
Of course, thank you, Maud. So the past year was really very exciting for our Africa-based science team, because we oversaw the launch and the prototyping development of several new continental-wide services. So there are 3 of those, so just bear with me, I'll talk through them very briefly. So the first was towards the end of last year, the Digital Earth Africa Coastlines. Now, this was really a very exciting one. It uses more than 20 years of USGS Landsat data to map all of Africa's coastlines, and not only their coastlines, but the change over 20 years, really in unprecedented detail, and was the first of its kind for the continent. So it's proud for us that Africa was leading the way amongst many other continents in the production of this data. So the data set includes annual shorelines, but also the rates of change, as I mentioned, across the entire coastline, and going back to the year 2000. So this product combined our analysis-ready data streams, which really are key to our platform, as well as tidal modeling to map the typical location of the coastline each year. And what that does is these shoreline positions provide really valuable insights into whether changes to the coastline are the result of particular events or actions, or whether there are more gradual change over time, enabling the countries to then take action. The second continental service that we released, and this was earlier this year, was a mean NDVI, normalized difference vegetation index, and anomalies, so changes from that service, unusual changes. And this is generated on a monthly basis at a spatial resolution of 30 meters from January 2017 onwards. And again, it uses all available cloud-free observations, and now from the Landsat 8 and 9 satellites, and also Sentinel-2. So this new service compares current vegetation conditions to historical ones using a baseline from 1984 until 2020. That's our NDVI climatology product that was released previously. And it enables our users to gain insights into how long-term climate changes may be affecting local vegetation conditions, and to predict the impact of similar or worse conditions in the future. So really moving under that umbrella of enabling our partners to take climate action. And then finally, earlier this month, actually, we released the third of our new continental services, and that was the rolling geomedian. And this one now is a cloud-free composite of Sentinel-2, compiled on a monthly basis, but using a 3-month window of data. And so this service has two components. It has a geomedian, which provides one representative multispectral measurement for every 10-meter pixel of the African continent. And this can be used as a monthly cloud-free composite or as a full spectral data set to develop more complex algorithms. But the second component is the really exciting bit, and this is a layer of, it's 3 layers of median absolute deviations. So what that means, these are layers which essentially represent the variability, so changes in the land surface. And so they help us to map and monitor change. And so this latest service is a key input into the Digital Earth Africa crop type mapping workflows. And it also has many potential uses in understanding landscape change, whether that's agricultural, environmental, or for example, maybe related to degradation and restoration activities. So all of these services are available for all African countries. They're operational, so they're updated by the Digital Earth Africa team on a regular basis, and they're open access for everyone. Thank you, Maud.
Indeed, 3 groundbreaking services. You can get to interact with them on our website, www.digitalearthafrica.org. If you click on the tab that says products and services, you'll see them all listed there, the 3 that Lisa mentioned. And someone's even said in the comment section, they are having fun exploring the Digital Earth Africa Coastlines product. Which products have you been interacting with over the past year? Let us please let us know in the comment section, in the chat box. It would be lovely to also hear from you, as you're also part of our story and part of this conversation. And then we got to attend so many events across the continent, so many, not enough time to name them all, but they were quite critical in us connecting with our audience. And maybe I'm going to land this to you, Zviko. How important was us attending these events and the connections that we were able to build through them?
The connections we're able to build through each of these events has been absolutely critical. I think one of the things, as Dr. Mubea said earlier, we really want to engage more people to show that we are the best platform that people use. And these events have been absolutely critical for us to be able to have that engagement. We've had engagements. I have a very long list, so bear with me. I'm going to start in West Africa. We attended Geo Week late last year in Accra, Ghana, which actually went really, really well. Part of Geo Week as well, we were part of the Blue Planet Symposium, as well as the Afri-Geo Symposium. Both of those were great and different audiences to connect with around the blue economy, as well as those all the Earth observation countries that are being supported through Afri-Geo. So it was really great to connect in Accra for that. In East Africa, we actually have had quite a few engagements with the RCMRD International Conference, which is we both this year and last year, which has been an amazing platform for us. The RCMRD International Conference is an important and key event for us, most especially because that's where our launch actually happened 4 years ago. And so we hold that event dear to our hearts. And as has been mentioned earlier, this year we were able to actually open our Kenya office as well, to officially open that. So we really thank RCMRD and the connections that they have around East and Central and Southern Africa. Further to that, actually, we had an engagement in Ethiopia, which was supported by UNECA, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. They actually had UNGGIM Africa in Ethiopia, and they had it, that was in last year. This year we had it in Cape Town in South Africa. So we really appreciated those engagements with a wider connection with the statistical community all across the continent. Another really important engagement that we have had that has allowed us to engage with and have deep dive sessions with 6 different countries in East, Central, and Southern Africa has been our Information for Agriculture and Food and Water Security project. This was implemented with our partner, Azareka, and this has probably been one of the most engaging, best engagements that we've had to really understand the Earth observation needs in 6 different countries, which were Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, South Africa, Botswana. So that actually was also like a really great engagement. On more of an international scene, we actually had a presence at COP27 in Egypt. This was really made possible through the support of the Australian government. So we really did appreciate that, and we're able to display and engage with people there, and also show and demonstrate how Digital Earth Africa can be used for climate action in the next few years as people engage with it. We also had another engagement at the SAT Summit in Washington, D.C. This was made possible through our partner, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who were able to actually help us to travel there. So that actually shows really a wide scope of impact that we're able to have. Not able to mention all of the events, but as you can hear, we were able to travel not just on the continent, but across the whole world, and really be able to engage with more people who are doing research, decision makers and government and policy, and we're looking forward to taking those engagements forward.
And I think, Zviko, you just hit the tip of the iceberg. There were so many other events that we attended, and we got to connect with our audiences from across the continent and the world. It was absolutely an honor to be able to do so. Zviko spoke about the events, and maybe you can touch on the capacity development initiatives that we hosted over the past year. Over to you.
Thank you so much, moderator. In terms of the capacity development opportunities, we also have the online trainings, which we've co-developed with our partners in the room, Afrigist in Nigeria, as well as OSS in Tunisia and other partners across the world. Then also some other engagements has been with the universities. For example, recently supporting the State University of Zanzibar in their 8 weeks internship program. Then also we had the Innovation Challenge with the Youth Mappers last year, going to this year. These we had 4 countries, Uganda, Tanzania, Sierra Leone, and Malawi. And some of these teams have really been able to use the platform and actually doing some exciting stories and finalizing the programs. As well as early the year, we had the engagements with the Africa Women in GIS, which has been a success with 2 winners from Nigeria and South Africa. The program continues to grow in terms of capacity building, in terms of the training courses that we have online, from introduction to the sandbox. This is the platform which enables you to use these very many algorithms. Then we have specific thematic areas from water resources, agriculture, food security, land regulation, urbanization, and hopefully soon we'll have on coastlines. All these co-developed with the partners who are also in this room. Special mention to David Dongo in RCMRD, Anis in OSS, as well Yajemi, Afrigist, and Bako in Agreement, the partners who help us provide fit for purpose training opportunities for everyone. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so much. And if you want to engage with any of the courses that Ken spoke about, you can find the link in the comment section as well as the chat box. It's learn.digitalearthafrica.org. And Dr. Lisa Rebelo spoke about the Coastline service that was launched last year. There is an online course, Introduction to Digital Earth Africa Coastlines. You can find it as well on the very same website, learn.digitalearthafrica.org. Thank you so much for that, Ken. Ken also spoke about partnerships, and these have been very critical to our success as Digital Earth Africa. And maybe at this point, I want to ask Dr. Xaba as well as Lisa, how important have these been in our success, not just in the past year, but for the past 4 years? And I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe Dr. Xaba, you can go first.
Yeah, thank you so much. I usually argue, as you know, without partnerships, I don't think the program would have delivered this far. In fact, our delivery model is embedded in that, in partnerships. We have our implementing partners across the continent, some of them in the room here today. If it was not for the collaboration and partnership, we would not have so much depth and reach across the continent. And for that, I continue to appreciate the role that our implementing partners are playing. The governing board provides direction, they provide the mandate, they provide the program goals and outcomes. And as Digital Earth Africa as an organization alone, without partnerships will not be able to deliver on those. From tools and services to training and capacity building, all the partners play a specific role. We have existing partners in IPs, implementing partners, about 6 in the continent. I also want to indicate that I think over the past year, we've also established some new partnerships which are quite fundamental for us. I can mention Azareka. We've signed an MOU with Azareka, and they were assisting us with a project which has been funded by Australia through ACIR on food security. And we also partnered through Azareka. That's the power of partnership. Through partnering with Azareka, we managed then to partner with Cardesa, so we can also do more work within the SADC region as well. So we continue to value the role of our partners. As Dr. Mubea will say, as an individual, we can go far, but as a village, we can go further. And I think it is through partnerships that we can go further. Thank you.
Lisa?
So maybe I can just add a bit to that. And yes, I couldn't concur more. Partnerships are critical for all aspects of the program. But focusing a bit on the science and technology side, partnerships, for example, with Amazon Web Services, with Esri, are really what enable us to really exploit a cloud-based platform and to make the resources that we're able to available to the users across the continent. So without technology partners, it would be a very different program. But also the global digital earth community. This is a really critical engagement for us because it enables us to learn from other product developments in other parts of the world and to feed our updates and improvements back to them as well. And the Coastline service was a great example of what can come from this cross-continental collaboration between global digital earth programs. Also, just one last aspect to mention, and that's from the science and product development side. The partnerships are also critical to the Digital Earth Africa co-design process. So all of our products and services are demand-driven. And so the ideation and the prototyping begins with our partners and our end users. And so partnerships really ensure that what we're doing responds to needs across the continent, but also that we use the latest technological developments to do so. Thanks, all.
Indeed, the partners have been so critical to our success, and it's not just the partners that Dr. Xaba and Lisa have mentioned. All the partners who have been critical to our success, we say thank you so much for being part of our story and for being part of our journey. We've mentioned the word partners quite a lot between the three of us, and maybe we'll continue this conversation. Zviko, we have these implementing partners that Dr. Xaba mentioned, but maybe for the sake of the audience and for those who don't know who they are, do you maybe care to list each of them one at a time, maybe where they're based and their focus area as it relates to Digital Earth Africa, just so that our leaders have context of who is who and the work that they do?
Yeah, definitely happy to do that, moderator. I think I'm actually going to ask a favor of our implementing partners who are on the call. Quite a few of them have joined. I'm just going to ask you to switch on your cameras as well. And if we can also just include them in the spotlight. So because we have the role that the implementing partners is key in terms of understanding the needs of countries and of the regions in which they work. And they give us the direction, and throughout our technical advisory committee, they give us the advice on what information and data that we need to get. So OSS works from Tunisia, and the work that they've done specifically is around land degradation in Tunisia, as well as in Burkina Faso. And so we really appreciate their support. CSE and RCMRD have similar work that they do around coastlines and wetlands, but CSE is based in Senegal on the West Coast, and RCMRD, our partners, are based on the East Coast. So this really, both of these partners have been key in terms of validating the data that we have, especially for the coastlines product. And it wouldn't have been possible to actually have this released as a service without their support. Staying in kind of West Africa, AfriGest is a really, really key partner in terms of they have helped us develop many of our online modules over the last year. And they are a leading training institute that's in Nigeria. Just want to say thank you very much to AfriGest. And of course, Bako, I see that you are here as well. I hope your camera came on, but we do see Agrimet and the work that they're doing in terms of crop type mapping, and then also the validation in both Niger and Burkina Faso. We really, our work at this stage would not have been possible without each of the implementing partners. So if I could indulge the audience and ask them to give everyone, our partners, a round of applause for all the hard work that they've been doing. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. In case there's anyone I might, I see Anis as well, Bubakar from Agrimet. So a lot of our partners, the engagement that you have with us has been absolutely critical to our success. We would not be here today at our 4th anniversary were it not for each of your contributions to our journey. So we really do appreciate that. Back to you, moderator.
Indeed, we would not have been here without our implementing partners. I've also had the honor of engaging with them, whether it's at events or at these live sessions, and we're very, very appreciative for your support in our success. I also want to zone in a little bit on a major project that we got to work on over the past year, and that was the information for agriculture, food and water security. And through that project, we also got to connect with different audiences and new audiences. Ken, you were a critical key as part of that project. Do you want to maybe share more about it?
Thank you so much, Mort. The opportunity for the program was to see how we can build the capacity of various partners so as to reach the small-scale farmer. So the opportunities, the engagements, there's 5-6 countries who are more geared with our partner Azareka based in Uganda, who cover East and Southern Africa, as well as our partner Kadesa covering the Southern Africa, to see some of the countries' opportunities from Rwanda, where my colleague Joseph is based, as well as Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, and moving to the south, we had Botswana and South Africa. And it was just only for 1 year, but it was something which informed partners' opportunities for scaling up. So for the first time, these programs were mostly in agricultural research, but now talking about Earth observation, and their choice was Teach South Africa. This was very impactful, showing them how to even access the platform, how to engage with different groups from government, even the youth in the university, youth mappers. So a lot of people were really engaged. And even we were planning a session to go to the village to actually show them how the platform works in terms of showing crop productivity from space to village. Back to you, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor engaging with all the audiences that we met on the various travels through that project. So thank you so much for your engagement, as well as to ACR for their support in making that project a success. We also engaged, or we expanded our network, and we got to engage with universities, which was actually quite an exciting one. Zviko, would you like to tell us more? Maybe let us know the universities we got to connect with and how those engagements went. Over to you.
All right. I don't know why you're giving me the list to talk about, Ward, but it's a long list, but I'll just mention a few. So one of the key ways that we want to change the African landscape is really by connecting with the next generation of GIS professionals who are going to be going into the working world. And part of our strategy with that is really working closely with universities so that people are introduced to the Digital Earth Africa platform as early as possible in their career. So we've already had engagements with the University of Johannesburg. And we're looking forward to engaging further with there. Actually, Dr. Mubea, Ken, was just at Makerere University. We've actually had really, really great support from the university, and that university that's in Uganda. Also, UENR, especially Professor Amos from UENR in Ghana. He's really been instrumental in terms of providing advice and suggestions on how we can proceed in terms of engaging with more universities across the continent. So we're looking forward to that engagement. While we were in Accra as well, we also met with the University of Ghana, which was another key partner that we are going to be working with, especially to support GMES and Africa and their coastline and blue economy work, especially we're doing that. But last but not least that I'll mention it here is the State University of Zanzibar. Kairia, who's from Susa, she has been absolutely amazing. And we are actually we launched actually at the beginning of this month, a new project where we're introducing practical training and community support through the State University of Zanzibar. So that's a model that we're looking to engage with more universities on. So if there are any other universities that are maybe on this call and we haven't met with you yet, please do send myself and Dr. Mubea an email. We'd be more than happy to engage with you to see how we can do that. We really want to change the landscape, as I said, through working with the young generation and the next generation of GIS professionals. And we believe the universities are key to this strategy. Thank you. Back to you, moderator.
Indeed, the universities are key. So if you're a part of a university and you would love for the Digital Earth Africa platform to be introduced, please do reach out to us. I'll share details at the end. I see someone has already said, I would love you to visit Jomo Kenyatta University in Kenya. So I'm sure my colleague Ken will definitely be in touch with you, Edna, don't you worry. But if you want the program at your university, please reach out to us. We would be more than happy to expand our network and get the program to the university. That was the universities. We also got to connect with the young people and with the women through various projects. Ken, again, you were also quite instrumental. Do you want to share some of these projects that we got to work with these stakeholders?
Thank you so much, Mort. Earlier on, I mentioned about the engagement with the technical, that is the youth members on the technical challenge. This was sometime last year, and we were able to come up with 4 projects. This is currently Makerere University in Uganda. We have Malawi. I also have Sierra Leone, and also we have first one was Tanzania. So in those 4 countries, the projects were more of forest conservation. The other one was water management. And then we also had the engagement with the Africa Women in GIS, which is a virtual group. They do mentorship to young women in GIS. For example, my colleague at Jomo Kenyatta University, among the few women in the space. And in that particular Africa Women in GIS, we're working also with their mentors. And we came up with 2 final programs, projects in Nigeria and South Africa. So the engagements has been possible with the young people through the various platforms. Also, you connected in these live sessions, as well as documenting some of the stories that you've done in your community, which we're able to be guided by a moderator on how to engage with that. Over to you. Thank you.
And we had the honor of hosting the technical challenge winners announcements very early on this year. So we'll drop those details here so that you can engage with that content. It was such an honor to meet and engage with them. Some of the projects are still unfolding. Others have been completed. And we're looking forward to the journey and to expanding our network and engaging with more youth and more women as our story unfolds. During our travels, they would not have been complete without engagements with Australian High Commissioners and Ambassadors. Dr. Xaba, you were also quite critical and you got to engage with a lot of those. Would you maybe like to tell us a little bit more about those engagements?
Yes, thank you so much. So Digital Earth Africa is a program started in Australia. And from Digital Earth Australia, being led by the Geoscience Australia team. So Australian government forms a very fundamental part of the program from inception to where it is now. The engagements with the Australian High Commissioners were centered around the program and its alignment to the Australian government. Also to share with the panel or the audience today that we also continue to be funded by the Australian government. What has been quite important for us or encouraging for us is to see the High Commissioners advocating for work at the forefront and talking about Digital Earth Africa. We've had engagements with the High Commissioner, Australian High Commissioner to Zimbabwe, Australian High Commissioner to South Africa, Australian High Commissioner to Ethiopia, to Ghana, across the continent. The advocacy role that they play to continue to demonstrate the partnership between Digital Earth Africa and Australia has been quite critical. And in doing so, I can also share that some of the High Commissioners were able to link us with other departments or government departments in other countries as well. So the work, apart from just meeting them, has been more on branding the program in the continent, but we continue to appreciate the support that we receive from the Australian government. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Australian government for the support, and to the High Commissioners, ambassadors that we got to meet on our travels. Thank you too for your success, for making our story a success. We are truly, truly appreciative. There were so many leaders that we got to engage with, but there are also leaders who are sometimes behind the scenes. We never get to see them, but they are our anchors, making sure that everything is run correctly, providing guidance, a lot of the times giving of their time freely, and as well as their expertise. And so maybe Dr. Xaba, I want to bring you back. Let us also acknowledge them as we reflect on our journey thus far. Some of the leaders, some of the stakeholders that have been critical to our success?
Yes, in fact, Digital Earth Africa, prior to the program having a governing board, was pretty much led by the Technical Advisory Committee. It played a role in shaping the roadmap of the program, where the program was going to land in 3 years or in 5 years' time. And when the program was launched 4 years ago in Kenya, the Technical Advisory Committee was then set up to give direction to the program. Subsequently, the governing board was set up in 2021, and the program is now led by the governing board. Digital Earth Africa being a digital public good, we operate on a mandate, that of being an NPO. And in that, what it means then is that any members who are providing advisory services from a strategic level or technical level, the science part, they are doing it out of their own time without being compensated. And we continue to appreciate, because the quality of the advice or the participation that we receive, it does demonstrate that level of commitment. We are here now celebrating 4 years. We still have a solid tech, which is our Technical Advisory Committee, in their various roles and their expertise in their various thematic areas. They continue to shape our delivery in terms of our roadmap and with their technical expertise. And the governing board, of course, that continues to shape our strategic imperative moving forward, is now we're journeying into phase 3. The governing board then will then give direction in how we're going to navigate around the phase 3. And if you look at our governing board and in our Technical Advisory Committee, you'll also understand and appreciate the caliber of the people that are working with the team here in Digital Earth Africa for the success of the program. And as you said, moderator correctly pointed out, they are doing it out of their own will. And we continue to deeply appreciate. And hence, every time when we need to account to the Technical Advisory Committee and the governing board, the team takes it in a manner that it's so deserving of their time. that we remain transparent and accountable to both the governing board and the technical advisory committee. Thank you.
And we're so appreciative of their time and their expertise in making sure this engine that is Digital Earth Africa is able to run and be the success that it has been. So thank you so much to the governing board and to the technical advisory committee members for all the support you've given us in making our story a success. Dr. Xaba, you spoke about phase 3, and I know I'm spotlighting you a lot as our managing director. Maybe for the sake of our audience, let's tell them a little bit about phase 3. When does it start? When does it end? And also again, partners, which has been a key word, probably the word of the day for this live session. Our partners, whether they're funding or in-kind partners, who are making sure that phase 3 that you speak about will be the success that it will be.
Yes, we are quite excited about phase 3. We have received funding from our funding partners, which is the Hemsley Charitable Trust and the Australian government. Our phase 3 is looking at scaling up and impact. As you know, phase 2 was focusing on transitioning the program to the continent, and phase 3 is scaling up and impact. And you would not scale up if there was no work done or any good deliverables achieved. So our phase 3 has key program goals. I usually emphasize that as a public good, Digital Earth Africa exists to improve the lives of the people by providing tailor-made information to enable government stakeholders and researchers, empower them for better decision-making. And the program goals, which are centered around phase 3, which is around climate action and embedding the program in Africa, enhancing community engagement. There's 4 program goals that are linked to it. It's livelihood strengthening, it's development effectiveness, and digital transformation as well. Also extending it to economic development and job creation. So that scaling up and impact is linked to those 4 goals. So having received funding from our partners, we also have our in-kind partners, contribution partners, who enable our program to go further, a step further. We have AWS, Amazon Web Services. We have Esri. We are hosted at SANSA, the South African National Space Agency. We have our partners who are also providing in-kind contribution. I can make an example now from RCMRD with hosting the Kenya Satellite Office. So what in-kind contribution does, it enables, because this is the funding that we would have contributed or paid. However, the in-kind contribution, which is being given by our partners, enable us to stretch our dollar further to deliver on the impact. Thank you. And we truly appreciate the partners, funding partners, and from our partners who are providing in-kind contribution. And if I can just elaborate, at times the in-kind contribution cannot be monetary. Even time itself is a resource, which we also deem as in-kind contribution. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so much to all our partners, whether they're funding in kind, those who give up their time and their expertise to make our story a success. More so as we move on into phase 3, we are truly, truly appreciative. At this point, as we envision the path for the future and the phase 3 that Dr. Xaba speaks about, I'd love all of the 4 leaders to just give us a sense of some planned projects for phase 3, or maybe at least for the first year. Dr. Xaba, you've been speaking a lot, so maybe I'll give you a chance to breathe, and I'll maybe start with Zviko at this point. Zviko, any planned projects with implementing partners or in your space or line of work?
Yeah, definitely do have quite a lot of travel that's planned over the next few months. So importantly, I think we have an engagement that's coming up to support AfriGeo in Namibia, and many people from across the continent will be there. So if you are going to be in Namibia for the for AfriGeo Symposium, please join us for the pre-symposium, we're going to have a workshop and training and engaging people and so that we understand some of the use cases that you would like to develop on the platform. That's going to be in September. Then as well, we've been invited, thanks to Fatu from our partner at OSS. They've invited us to also join GMES and Africa and the North African countries that they represent. So we're going to be in Mauritania, so we're going to support that engagement as well. Later in the year, we have an engagement that is supported by our partner, CSE. They have the WACA network, where we're going to be actually showcasing our coastlines work with CSE and really looking forward to actually showcasing that to West African countries so that they can engage with our platform there. The biggest event that we have towards the end of the year is going to be Geo Week. And Geo Week is really, really key for us because Digital Earth Africa is a geo initiative. And the Group on Earth Observation is going to have their ministerial meeting in November in Cape Town. And so we look forward to that engagement as well. All of those are just highlights of the events. There are other events as well, such as in Niger, Agrimet is having their celebration of their anniversary, 50th anniversary as well. So we look forward to all of those engagements. So there are a lot of key events that we want to be part of. Please do let us know. As I said, contact us and we'll be happy to see what we can do about traveling to those. Back to you, Maud.
And we look forward to engaging with our audience, our followers, our users at all of these events. Please, you can follow us on our social media platforms. I'll share a bit more about that a bit later to find out which events we will be at. And we would love to meet and engage with you there. Lisa Rebelo from the science team, any planned projects maybe for the next year, next few months? Over to you.
Thank you, Maud. Yeah, so in the context of phase 3 and some of the outcomes we just heard about, so in particular having impact across the continent, working to embed the program at the national level in more regions than we have during phase 2, so expanding our reach, but also as an umbrella empowering climate action for all African countries. We phased the science team activities within those broader outcomes. So what that means over the next few months in particular is you can look forward to exciting new developments, including while we continue to produce all of our existing continental services, we also have some new data streams and services planned. So in terms of the analysis-ready data streams, this includes Sentinel-3. So in particular for our partners who are developing marine applications, we're working to make Sentinel-3 available on the platform, and the USGS aquatic Landsat aquatic reflectance product for more aquatic ecosystems and our water-based applications. So we also have an exciting new continental service planned for later in the year. So I'd say watch this space. And this builds on the existing water observations from space, one of our current continental services, and it focuses in more detail on water bodies across the continent and specifically looking at what is full when and how that changes over time. We also have new workflows for those of you who want to use our continental services to produce further information. We have new workflows under development for wetland mapping and monitoring, and we also have a new workflow for coastlines, the coastline service, but dedicated for smaller islands. So those will be released later in the year as well. And finally, we have a series of external data sets, which we're also working to make available through the platform based on requests from our users. And just to give you one example, this is one, the World Settlement Footprint on urban extent and annual change since 1985. So lots of new things happening, and that's just over the next few months.
Indeed, lots of the new things happening over the next few months. And as Lisa said, watch this space.
Closing, firstly, to appreciate our users, our implementing partners. There's still a lot to come with our phase 3. We will not even deliver on scaling up and impact without our partners. And as we shape also for phase 3 delivery, there is a strong direction to partner with universities. We've seen how working with universities, we are able to deliver on our program. Zviko did mention the universities we're working with. And the reason why I had also recognized Dr. Kilebogile, I think one of our very first user cases in the Okavango Delta, and does emphasize or elevate the need and the role for all our partners, from implementing partners in the various regions to universities, professors in the room. I think we are a community, and with this community, as the program will be able to deliver on the strategic imperatives. But also in closing, moderator, I would like to thank the Digital Earth Africa team. I know I usually make it as if I say in passing. I think all the work that is being done with implementing partners, it's deeply appreciated. So I would also appreciate the Digital Earth Africa team as well. Thank you. And we're looking forward to implementing or delivering on our phase 3 with all the partners. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Xaba. It's been lovely to have you as part of this live session. Zviko, any closing comments from you?
One of the things, especially for phase 3, is the technology has been built, the infrastructure is now in place, and we really want to connect more with users and understand what you're using the platform for. So please get in touch with us. Tell us, we'd love to highlight the work that you're doing. Submit your use cases to us. We'd really love to be able to support that. If, for example, you have bigger projects that you require more resources in terms of the current allocation in terms of the sandbox isn't enough, and you need power user access, we're happy to provide that to you. I've also shared a link to that. And also, if there's any technical support that we can provide to you, there's a link to that. Each one of these is a way that we want to engage with users, really to understand how they're using the platform, what data they need, so that we can actually make sure that the platform is always co-developed and is meeting your needs. That's the primary thing, is that we don't want to develop a platform that's independent to the needs of the users. And so during phase 3, over the next 3 years, we really look forward to having that greater and richer engagement with each one of you who are using the platform. So I'm looking forward to meeting you at the different events, but also most especially just to understand some of the projects you're working on, and we'd like to amplify them as well on our various platforms. So thank you
so much, Zviko. Lisa, I know you spoke about all the exciting things that we need to watch this space for, but any closing comments from you?
Thank you, Maud. I think it's all been captured, but just to emphasize, we really love to hear from our users. And not just when you need help, but also your success stories, because understanding how everyone is using the platform helps us to design our services and products better. So I'll just finish by saying on that note, also a great thank you to the science team that I work with, who, we wouldn't be here without, in terms of our services, our products, workflows, the use case support. So yeah, thank you to all of them.
Thank you to you, Lisa. And last but certainly not least, Ken, as we close off this live session, over to you.
Thank you so much, moderator. The live sessions have been there since like 3-4 years, and the evolution is only possible with the topics that you wish to listen to. So those requests to be more and more welcome, so that we can provide short sessions impactful for your work and research, as well also thanking the team that we work internally to make sure this happens. Special mention to Edward, Maud, Rifilwe, and Joseph, and the others who really supported us this far, and as we diversify on the languages and the time zones for everyone, so that we leave no one behind. Thank you, everybody. You are all important to the program. Thank you. Asante.
Asante. Thank you so much, leaders, for being part of our story and our journey. We never want to leave these live sessions without giving you an opportunity to connect with us. On your screen is the various ways that you can do so. Our website, where you'll find out more about all the exciting information that all the leaders spoke about today, is www.digitalearthafrica.org. You can also take up one of our free self-paced online courses. The link to that, or the website, is learn.digitalearthafrica.org, and you also receive a certificate of completion at the end. So go ahead, look at the website. There may be a topic or two of interest for you. It's available in English and in French, so we have you covered whether you speak English or French. And then our website, our email address, apologies, is info@digitalearthafrica.org. We're also on social media by the same name, Digital Earth Africa, on Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. It's been an absolute honor sharing a bit more about our story with you. Thank you so much for being part of our journey. Thank you to everyone who's made Digital Africa a success thus far. We look forward to expanding our network, to meeting you on the journey. Thank you so much for being part of it and for being part of our story. And as they say, the journey continues. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. We host these live sessions every Wednesday at 11 a.m. GMT. Alternating between English and French. Today it was in English, but next week it's going to be in French. And so if French is your preferred language, votre langue préférée, we will have a French live session next week, le mercredi prochain, à la même temps, at the same time. Until then, please take care and be safe. And depending on where you're joining us across the continent and the world, have yourself a very good morning, good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. Thank you and take care.